Hi, this is Pending Reality, and this is an introduction to BUNSHIN Live. So BUNSHIN Live allows you to take your VRM avatars and use them for virtual production, VTubing in a really simplified way. It's going to be updated, going to be integrating a lot of things in the future, doing more interesting experiments, but this is just kind of an opener, an introduction to the toolkit. To get started, go ahead, click Initialize, and select the BUNSHIN Live level. Live. Once you're in, you'll see this is the VTubing stage. I am using a 2080 RTX on a PC, and it's taking advantage of all the Lumen features, reflections, global illumination. The only downside is it's going to need a beefy RTX GPU from NVIDIA. I haven't tested with lower end cards, so if you do have one, please test. Give me some feedback. On a side note, regarding system specs, if performance is an issue, you can go into the settings by pressing escape, go to graphics, go to resolution scale and set it down somewhere like 50%. I get anywhere from like a half, maybe 30% FPS uplift, so it's pretty massive. Okay, so now to get your VRM in, first select this dropdown. There's Auto, M-Tune. These are basically different shaders, make your VRM render differently. So let's try an example. I've already pre-converted a Clone X avatar into a VRM using Clone Tools 2.0. I have a whole write-up on that in the documentation, so you should check it out. So for example, this subsurface scattering also has an outline, great for giving that anime look as well. But if you want the full PBR, just go to GLTF, VR import the file. It'll take a moment, load in, and then it'll have all those nice reflections, and it'll play with the lighting in the scene pretty nicely. There are 4 different ways Bunshin Live tackles animating your character through motion capture. So one is just face motion capture, which is working right now. A little bit of head tilt affecting the bones, and you have all of the facial animations from the ARKit 52 blend shapes that are working, so it looks really smooth. One note is that if you are converting your clone, there are some caveats and a script that you need to run to rename all of the facial blend shapes. There are some clones that don't have the blend shapes, so if you do want to test it out and you want to get those files, reach out. I might have them. Once you go through the conversion process, it'll run smoothly like this, but this is only the head tracking. If you press escape, go to options, you're going to have 3 other track motion capture solutions here under system and motion capture. Pose AI, which is an iPhone based body tracking solution where you can just do full body mocap through your iPhone and then stream that data over here. Second one being Rococo. So Rococo has one of the more affordable sides of hardware-based motion capture, and they also can import Mocopi data as well. And then from the Rococo Studio, you can stream that over to Unreal Engine 5. And last but not least, VMC protocol, which is widely used in a lot of VTubing tools, especially from the Japanese market. There's one really great open source dev working on a project called XR Animator, and the functionality to get VMC was kind of driven out of that. You could do webcam motion tracking and whatnot and just stream it in here. It'll work fine. It's really cool. So for the other motion capture solutions and the workflows and caveats that you might want to consider, I'll be doing separate videos to run through the nitty-gritty of those as well, but just this is just an overview to show you that those are possible. All right. Now to get into some of the keyboard shortcuts, some of the features in Live. So if you want to do full motion capture, you can press the toggle desk and it'll blip it out of existence so that the desk isn't in the way when you're trying to do motion capture or other poses streaming in from XR Animator, for example. You can take photos. Now, you can set your resolution here on the bottom right. You can set the screen resolution 720p, 1080p, 4K, and it'll be saved in the screenshots folder that'll be found within your install folder. You could change your field of view. You could do camera roll, things like that. There's going to be basic display adjustments. The cool thing is for filters, you could do post-processing filters here. Separately, there's also different rendering ones. You could set like an outline, pixelated look, a little wavy stuff. But the great thing here is if you want to use the green screen, it'll just crop out your character so that you could use it for OBS or for other uses when you want to comp everything together. Now, this is one caveat just to let you know is that the autofocus isn't fully functional right now because the imported character doesn't have any collision, so the autofocus gets confused. So you'll probably want to just set it up, for example, set up the focus, set up the width so you get a little bit of a blur going on, and then just manually tweak it for that camera angle. Yeah, so apologies if it's a little finicky, but yeah, we'll be working on that soon. And then you have other screen effects, chromatic aberration, film grain, motion blur to get the look that you want. For the motion capture, there are two keyboard shortcuts that you want to keep in mind. So when you press insert, it's actually going to start taking over the motion capture selection that you have and start applying that to the upper body. Right now, there's no motion capture, so it's just doing a T pose. If you want to do full body, then after you press insert and get the body capture on, press home, and now it'll be fully running with body capture. So this is Pose AI in action. This is switching over to Chrome version of the Clone X just to experiment. Is you have hand tracking. This is all coming from an iPhone using Pose AI, streaming the motion data over to Unreal Engine 5. So one thing you'll notice is I'm standing quite far away from the iPhone to get the tracking to work. One downside of using Pose AI is that it uses Pose AI facial motion capture, which is not as good as the base live link. So it's kind of a trade-off that you have to take for Pose AI if you want to do full motion capture without the suit. Let me switch over to the full body motion. I'm going to step away. It's just to press home real quick and get rid of the table. All right. Press home to do full body capture. Pressing Alt to show the mouse and then toggling the desk to get it out of the way. Going to move the camera back over in free cam mode. And then getting back into frame, the motion will pick back up. And it's a little finicky. I think the lighting in my room is not that great, so it kind of cuts out in and out. Ignore the massive reflections on this character because he's very shiny. But yeah, so this is kind of how it works. It's really good for basic podcasts, kind of basic movement. The full body tracking for the lower half of the body is not implemented yet, but you're going to need quite a bit of space to have the phone where it can see your whole entire body in frame. So you need to have it at least maybe 5 meters away from you. But for upper body tracking, probably about a meter and a half, 2 meters, where your upper body's fully in frame and you'll have this smoothness. It's probably better if it's further and you have good lighting. But yeah, so let me show you Rococo next. So it's using the iPhone for the facial tracking and then streaming in body capture from Rococo. Now, one thing to note is that when you're in a full screen or full screen windowed mode, when you click outside of Rococo, it's going to freeze like this. So one workaround to this is to just go to your graphic settings, go to windowed, apply that. And then if you have that, then you could be focused on the Unreal Engine build in Bunshin Live, and Rococo will still fully function. The reason being is because when it's in full screen or windowed, Windows like to prioritize Unreal Engine, whether that's Unreal or Windows, I'm not entirely sure, but this is a good workaround. And then you can also just change the resolution if you want it to be somewhat full screen. You can do that here. Not the resolution scale, but the actual resolution here and make it larger if you want to. Last but not least is XR Animator. It's really, really simple. It's one of the best open source motion tracking tools out there using VMC protocol and VRM avatars. All you got to do is start up the tool. There is an icon called VMC protocol. You set VMC protocol on and bam, it starts streaming. So this is just a baked animation in there. There's different poses and stuff like that too. Webcam based hand, face, body tracking. It's wicked. So then if you don't have an iPhone, if you don't have a motion capture suit, this is also a great way to just get started with sending your motion data over here. Now, one thing to note with XR Animator, different from Pose AI and Rococo as well, is that because XR Animator is a comprehensive solution for using webcam for body, face, and hand tracking, when you're in XR Animator mode, it only receives data from XR Animator. There's no live link face app. There's none of that stuff going on. It's purely just taking everything that's streaming into XR Animator, streaming it into here. Now, if you want to use other stuff like VC Phase, TDPT, other VMC protocol like tracking solutions, those are supported too. You just have to make sure that you're using the port
Mm.
39539 so that the data gets received on this end. Aside from that, if you have any requests regarding the MC protocol, please let me know. Thanks for checking this out. Make sure that you check out bunshin.xyz, where you can download the build and also a link for the Bunshin Live documentation so that if you are going to do the conversion and if you have any connection issues, it should be covered in the docs. Yeah, have fun. Can't wait to see what you guys make.